My mom, who was a maid, wanted me to grow up and go off and become an astronaut. And so she worked real hard as a maid to see that I go to college. And so I majored in psychology. I didn't go and become an astronaut, but I decided that I wanted to get into medicine initially. I realized that I wasn't real good in chemistry, and so I opted out for just counseling. That was my first introduction to drugs and alcohol. I got married and was out playing basketball one day and had a real bad back injury. And because I worked in the field and had access to multiple doctors, right? I was just getting pain pills constantly from those doctors. I realized when I started stealing the doctor's prescription pads that I was working with and started writing my own scripts, I knew I was in trouble. My mom was extra religious, right? And I would remember hearing her talk about, as a little boy, if you ever just believed in God, just call on Jesus. And if you got a problem with anything, he'll fix it for you, right? And so when my wife and kids were leaving and I was in all of the legal problem, I tried my mom's idea, right? And I fell on my knees and cried out to God, God, help me, just save my family. But I didn't say take the pills and alcohol away. I just wanted God to save my family. Finally, my wife left and she took the kids. And from that point, everything just spiraled. I lost my home. I found an old abandoned warehouse where I began living, and I spent 12 years in an abandoned warehouse. God, I can't believe my life has ended up here. Right? There was a little hole in that abandoned warehouse, and at nighttime when there were no drugs to be used, I remember looking up and going, well, Mama said you were there, but you haven't answered. Please take this thing away. On my way to jail, the police said to me, he said, you know, I'm really trying to save your life. That's why I'm taking you to jail. Right? While I was there in jail, the court-appointed attorney came back and said, Mr. Bell, you've had multiple arrests. And she said, you really have a drug problem. And I thought, well, yeah, right. Of course I do. Right? She said, would you opt to go into treatment? They ended up sending me to a 9-month treatment program first. And then I would have to go into the ARC for an additional 6 months. And I remember one morning after the 30-day restriction, coming off of the 30-day restriction at the ARC, they ended up letting me go to a doctor's appointment. This was the first time I had an opportunity to be alone by myself. And I think this was where the rubber met the road. They ended up letting me walk to the appointment. I remember looking up and saying this, listen, God, I don't care if I have to feel this way the rest of my life. I don't care. I'm not gonna use dope. And so if this is it, if this is the deal, if this is what I'm going to get, then so be it. And the moment I said that, I'm not talking about 2 moments later or 2 weeks later. The moment I said, if this is it and this is the way you want it, everything changed. And I mean everything. There was a complete peripheral shift. All I wanted to do is run back to the ARC and find one of the chaplains and say, hey, y'all don't know what just happened. Listen, I'm different. And I don't know what it was at the time. Well, I know I'll know what it was. That was the power of God that I had been crying out for. And someone said, God just wanted, me to accept where I were. No bargaining, no deal, right? Just no dealing. And that's what happened. God, if this is it, if this is what you want, so be it. And then the miracle happened, yeah. Being there at the ARC, one of the counselors there sort of knew my history. But the counselor came up to me and said, hey, don't you have a background in counseling? And I said, yeah, that was many years ago. Oh my God. He said, we have a counseling position here. Would you be interested in working for us? And I thought, what? The thing that had been sort of snatched from me in my earlier years, here it was given back, but it was given back in a way that, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? You just can't. I mean, those are the little miracles that I know were just acts of God, right? I think God knew where he needed me. He just knew that the only way that you're going to stay sober, I'm going to put you here at a place to work with individuals just like you, right? And so I went to my administrator and I said, you know, I'm just sitting around. I'm going to go out there where I used to live and so if I can start bringing people in. And he said, you think so? And I said, well, yeah. And out of that, I just started going out under the bridges. And I didn't know very much about William Booth, but it's my understanding that's what William Booth was doing. That's what the Salvation Army's mission has always been, is to go out, and say, we're here, you know? This is really important, because if we can get just one, well, it's checkmate. It's really checkmate, yeah. If there's someone out there that's thinking, I've tried it 1,000 times to get sober. I've done this and I've done that. I've done everything people tell me to do, and I keep coming up short. You ain't seen nothing yet. Just know that the story isn't over, right? That, as my mama would say, there's help on the way. You can take that to the bank. There is help on the way. And that acceptance is the key.